Greetings, programs. Atari here, you there, and this is a Xybernaut Mobile Assistant 4 wearable computer. Circa like late 90s, early 2000s. Xybernaut was this, they made these silly mil-spec wearable computers long before anybody was carrying a, well, not that long, I guess, really. About a decade, I guess, before anybody was carrying supercomputers in their pockets, as we all are now. So this is an interesting sort of like, sort of a stopgap between the days of desktop or laptop computing and the days of mobile computing. So as part of Project Xyberpunk, I wanted to, well, the first thing I got to do is take this thing apart and see how it ticks. So the first thing we got to do is just take this thing apart and we'll see how it ticks, see what it's made of, see how it's put together. So let's just do that. So first things first, we'll take a look here. Have these, all these weird ports on the back. So the first thing we got to do is just unplug these guys. So this is the power? Yeah, this is power. So here's a battery pack. This is a, what kind of battery is this? It's like it's a bank of 18650s. It's a big bank of 18650s. It's an ME202BB lithium-ion rechargeable battery, 11.1 volt output. So it's got five terminals there. So that's going to be interesting to try and figure that out. 5 terminals there, and it goes into this DB9 connector, except it's only 5 pins. So that's interesting. So all 5 of those pins go in there. So obviously there's positive, negative. There's probably a couple of sense lines or something like that to get this thing, try to power it on. So now here's this big guy here. This is labeled Port Replicator, and it's this big honkin' proprietary kind of thing to the Xyberport Mini. So here we have a standard PS2 plug for a keyboard, mouse, as it is labeled, and then FDD, I'm assuming is floppy disk drive. Considering this age. So there's that. So this is where all that comes into play. The problem I have with this thing is just all these proprietary ports. They're like, they had to like squeeze them down so they would fit on here instead of using like a standard VGA and a standard. It does have USB on it, so that's interesting. USB 1.0. But that's this, and that goes out to, this goes out to the head-mounted unit, and we'll get to this later. This is going to be more complex to take apart, but essentially you've got your head unit here, and then it goes out, there's a small CRT, I believe this is a CRT? Yeah, we'll figure that out in a minute too. And then that would reflect off of a translucent piece of acrylic or something. Which I don't have, so I'm going to have to figure out how to solve that issue. So this is, yeah, so that's that. Let's put that aside here. So this is the main unit. And, it's kind of small, for what it is. So let's just take a look and see what we got here. This looks like to be one of those little, like, mouse kind of thing. You just kind of poke it around and you got buttons there. Let's see, there's this. This looks like it's 2 PCIe slots right in here underneath that guy. Little expansion ports. That's all I can really see here on the exterior. Of course, some of our trim's coming off. So let's just dive into this thing and get intimate with the interior. So this is a number 1 crosshead. so far I have not even been able to get this thing to power on. So that's been the first challenge. Try and get that working, but considering how this thing was put together and what kind of stuff might be inside it, it might actually be better now, almost 20 years after development, 15-ish years or so after development. It might actually be better to, we might actually end up just replacing the interior with an SBC, a single board computer, because that will be just as good, if not better, than the original hardware, depending on what we find inside here. Okay, so I start this panel, ready to come off. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so this is our hard drive. The hard drive underneath, but this is interesting. This is like a super viscous gel, like ballistic gel. That's really clever. So this is apparently the shock absorbing mechanism, because that's a spinny hard drive. So that's you can't like just walk around with the thing and be like doing this all the time when it's trying to read the disk, and that doesn't work for a hard drive. Voice of experience. And underneath, looks like we got 128 megs of RAM. Woo! Big potatoes. 128 megs of RAM right there. Isn't that fantastic? Now let's see, so that's all we got right here. That's all the easily accessible stuff. I guess it's time to get into the meat and potatoes. So, let's take the rest of this off. Alright. Let's just take that out. And just leave it there. That's fine. Okay. So let's see. So we've got this is all our port stuff up under here. I'll get to that in just a minute. Oh, let's see, what do you use? This is an Intel PCI set. This is obviously the main processor, but not sure what it is. Doesn't say on there, so it's an Intel processor. That's as far as I know right now. Have to do a little more digging. Some kind of a tack switch there. Not sure what that's for. Reset. Physical reset, maybe. Anyway, well, let's get down into her a little bit more. Actually, let's do this layer by layer. Let's start up here. It's like, you know, taking a regular computer apart, except not. this piece off, just a couple of screws holding it in, and I discovered this back here. Looks like this is all held on by a couple of screws here. Doesn't look like that's holding a port on or anything, so we're just going to take that out. Okay, well that's also loose. Oh, hello. Come on. Let's see. All right, I need my little crescent wrench. Somebody was giving me crap on one of my videos where somebody was giving me crap one time where they said, "Hey, called it a crescent wrench, not a combination wrench." It's like, okay, well, if you want to be technical about it, they're ignition wrenches. They aren't even combination wrenches, because combination wrenches would have this side and then the socket side over here. They would not be both, you know, standard crescent type wrenches. So there you go. And you know, sometimes when I'm doing this and I'm working and I'm more thinking about the project than really, you know, all that concerned with what I'm saying here. You can see what I'm using. That's why it's a video. So yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, kids. You know what's going on. I know what's going on. It's okay. We don't have to be pedantic. So, oh boy. All right, that's most of it. There's most. Oh my goodness. There's the other side of it. Well, this is neat. Okay, and that's why that's over, because that's the mouse, and that's already hardwired there. Oh, it's a standoff, that's why. Another one. Go. Aha! Now we can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so this is our PCIe slots. Multiple slots? Yes, 2 slots. hard to see. Like it looks like there's a reflection, but there's not. So a couple PCI slots. A Rico chip. That is. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what this is. What this Rico chip is. This thing is corroded. All kinds of crazy here. That thing, oh, that's seen some better days. I don't know what this is for either. 7.2 volt, 30 milliamp hour nickel metal hydride. I don't know. I really don't know. So here's the ports. Here's our ports. That's our little USB on there. There's our power. There's not a lot of documentation for this thing out there, so that's part of this exploratory mission. Is just to take it down to the green board and see what there is here. So we got some flash right here. See the flasher, that's just embedded RAM. That's probably the, yeah, this is probably embedded RAM, and then have the socketed RAM over there, over here. So this is the expandable side. This is the base model unit, probably another 120 megabytes. Caps. Fujitsu Limited. I don't know what you are. So many proprietary little parts in here. That's part of this issue. That's part of the reason that like nobody wanted to ever do anything with these things, because it's just a mess of proprietary parts. Copyright Intel on it, so maybe this is some kind of module that Fujitsu made for Intel for this thing. Because this is a Japanese computer. It's oh. Whoa, that was close. Thermal paste. What do we got up under here? This is a heat sink. I mean, this whole thing is heat sinked, but why? What is this? So this isn't the processor. Unless it is. It's definitely not zero insertion force. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. If you know what this stuff is, please drop it down in the doobly-doo. This is stuff like I've never really ever seen before. This is weird and different, and I'm not entirely certain where, why, or how it all comes together. Ow. It's keeping tension. this is. Fujitsu Limited. Okay. So we got an Intel processor. Got this big card here. It's kind of like weird small form factor kind of thing. Like, this thing is just a brilliant piece of engineering, but it's all proprietary and there's no documentation anywhere. Like, I can't find anything for this thing. It's crazy. Can't find any kind of documentation for this thing anywhere. So we're just kind of out in left field with it. And when you have outdated computers, ooh, hello. That's a big old heat sink for something. This is all heat sink parts. That's interesting. So this obviously is the biggest heat. It's the biggest source of heat. It has the most heat sink attached to it. Obviously, that's what it is. Unless there's some weird piece that freaking has more, that needs more heat sinking, which just doesn't sound logical. Here's this is the mouse part, the little mousy bit, the nib. Okay. Aha. There that comes. There you go. Alright, so here's our little nib mouse. Now, it's more than just the mouse. It's actually more than just a mouse because we have the status lights up here. Little status lights up here showing power, hard drive activity, microphone. So it's a very interesting piece of engineering. Like I say, it's so outdated, and with it being this outdated, there's no real, and with there being no real documentation, I don't have a whole lot of choice here in what I'm able to do. Like, I can take this off, I can take that out, and I can see what it's booting to. And I want to say it's Windows 98 that it'll boot into. I don't even think it's XP. That's how old this thing is. I really don't think it goes into XP. But I can take the hard drive, I can image the hard drive, see what's on it, and see what we can do from there. And look at that, look at that. That is just that's just a tack switch and another tack switch. That's our mouse. That is our mouse, and so those are connected. Let's see, switch 201 and 202. There's our little driver. And this is for the lights, the LEDs. Come over here. This is obviously a double-sided board. It connects from here back over to the peripheral interface here, and then it goes into the rest of the MOBO. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this was a CMOS battery, because that's the only thing I can think of that it would be. And since it's a battery-powered device, it has to have a bigger battery here, just for, so it doesn't, in case this thing runs out for quite a while, which it might do in the service. That's really all I can think of that it will be. That's gotta be like a reset switch or something. Yeah, very interesting. So this is This is funny, this little bodge wire right here. This is funny. Obviously, they messed up somewhere. And for something that costs like, you know, as much as a car, that's, yeah. That doesn't bode well for Homestar Runner. So anyway, so this is the main unit here, the Mobo, and there's our ports over here. PCI. The problem I have here, again, this is all like proprietary stuff that I can't find any kind of documentation on this stuff at all. So we may just have to wing it. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll figure it out along the way. But oh, this is very interesting. This is manufacturing mark, 1998, December 7. At least I assume that's December 7. It could be July 12. 98, 12 July. Oh, it might be 12 July. That may be 12 July. Either way, it was manufactured in 98. So this thing is going on 21 years old now. Just turned 20. Happy birthday, little Xybernaut. So that's that. The next thing I got to do is this head-mounted display. I got to take this thing apart and see how it ticks, and then we'll be able to kind of get a game plan going as to what I'm actually going to do with this thing. So, in the meantime, we've got social media over here. We got to subscribe down here. Over here is a playlist or some video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Down here is a newsletter. Go ahead and sign up for that and get notified of everything that goes on around the shop. In the meantime, my name is Atari, and until next time, tally ho, y'all.